Well, good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the show. I'm Cruising Chris M, and with me I have the astounding Skrosnest,
Astounding.
Randy. Appreciate you coming in, Randy. How you doing? I know you just got off your cruise not too long ago. I just got off my cruise this morning. Horrible day getting off the cruise. They kicked me off the ship again. But every good thing has to come to an end. But don't look at it as an end. Look at it as a new beginning. But look at all the memories we made. So
Exactly.
appreciate you coming in, Randy.
Well, I
I
appreciate you
think,
having me.
yeah.
I've
So
been called a lot of names, never astounding though.
astounding. You are
Yeah.
definitely astounding. I mean, you are the one that is classing this place up for sure. And, one thing I do want to make a comment on is go ahead and check out Randy's Patreon. And of course, come and check out my Patreon. But if you're a member of Randy's Patreon, he's got some classy microphones. He is not using the little lavalier talking up the mouth. He's got the full-fledged Johnny Carson interview microphone going on, and really adds a touch of class to his show. And he and his wife there. So yeah, he's really doing it upright. So yeah, check those out when you get a chance. If you're a member of Randy's Patreon, if not, go ahead and become a member of Randy's Patreon. And if you're not a member of my Patreon, come on by and come show it. Let's go ahead and see who we have in the chat so far. Looks like we have Tricia. Tricia, thanks for stopping by. Looks like we have Danny D here. Looks like we got Cam Fam. Appreciate you coming in, Cam Fam. Yep. Let's see. I'm learning how to do all this stuff. It's been a day or two since I've done all this.
Speaking of Scott, Scott.
Yeah, it looks like we have Scott, who I know a couple of my posts I put out there. He said, man, I really wish I was in Alaska. So, Scott, we'll get you back there soon enough. For sure. And Nicole, appreciate you coming in. So, what we really wanted to talk about is, both of you mostly know that Randy and I both use a mobility scooter for the most part when we cruise. And a lot of our shows have revolved around accessibility on ships and doing things like that. And since both of us just got back from Alaska, we really wanted to focus on how accessible is Alaska. And Randy, I'll let you go first. How accessible did you find your ports? And you want to go ahead and talk about what ports you went to first, and
Sure.
then we can jump around into each port and go from there. And I'll jump in because I think we probably hit a lot of the same ports.
Yeah, I think we probably did too, except for Canada. But
right.
Before I do that, I want to point out something. This is the most important thing you can pack if you have accessibility issues.
The door wedge.
Yes, you got to get a good door stop. Don't go to the dollar store and buy one of those little flimsy ones. Get one of these. It's perfect for mobility scooters, wheelchairs, walkers, no matter what you've got. You want to get something like this. Plus, Carnival has actually cracked down. They won't let you use theirs anymore. So
really?
Yeah. So,
really? Well, speaking of door things, what surprised me is I was on Star Princess, which of course is a new ship, still got that new ship smell, but it did not have power doors for the accessibility cabin.
Yeah.
That kind of blew me away. So, yeah. Anyways, go ahead.
No, I mean for the room or for just in general?
For the room.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Did not have a power door cabin. When I was on Vision of the Seas, I had a power door that I just swiped my key,
right,
and the door would open up for me.
Yeah.
So,
that's odd. So,
yeah.
But anyway, in answer to your question, we went to Skagway, we went to Ketchikan, we went to Juneau, and then when we came back, because we left out of San Francisco, so when we came back, ours was a 10-day cruise, so we had a few sea days on both ends, which is nice because you rest up and recuperate.
Exactly.
But when we came back, we went to Prince Rupert instead of Victoria or Vancouver.
Interesting.
Which is nice because I've been to Victoria and Vancouver before, so it's nice to go to a new place. And,
right.
So if you get the chance, I highly recommend Prince Rupert. It's a very nice little
community. Now, whereabouts is Prince Rupert in comparison to like Victoria's? North, south?
It's kind of south. It lays right in that same area,
Okay.
Yeah, because it's pretty close. It's pretty close to Alaska. So
okay. Yeah. So yeah, and we did Ketchikan, Juneau. Of course, we did Dawes Glacier and Endicott Arm Sea Day, and then we did Juneau that night, and then we did Skagway, and then of course we had a Sea Day coming back.
Hmm.
So, and then we went into Victoria, was our Canadian port, and Victoria was from like 7 p.m. until 11:29 p.m. Not 11:30, 11:29.
Yeah.
Had to be back on board. So
Oh well. Ship's
yeah,
time.
exactly, exactly. So what did you find to be the most accessible with the ports, and what did you find to be maybe a little bit more challenging with you with your going into Alaska? Let's go ahead and start with maybe our first port that we probably both went to,
Well,
which would have been Ketchikan.
thing I was going to point out is the last time I was in Alaska, which was 8 years ago, I didn't have a scooter, and it was miserable because I was really having issues trying to get around and all that stuff. So, I was curious this trip how much different it was going to be for me and stuff like that. And I really didn't run into a lot of obstacles anywhere in Alaska, really, or in Prince Rupert, as a matter of fact. There's seems like people are getting on to the ADA requirements and stuff like that, and they're they're stepping
Right.
up their game, I guess is one way to put it. The only thing that was kind of uncomfortable, which I don't know if you encountered this, but boardwalks, and you kind of bump, 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 you're going along,
Yes.
and
Yes, and of course our scooters do not have shocks. So
well, mine does. It doesn't have, but it has solid tires. It doesn't have, like a pneumatic tire, I guess you would call it. But
right.
you know,
Which of course I think a pneumatic tire might be a different kind of problem because of some of the stuff that we have to run over
yeah, exactly.
would be an
Yeah,
issue.
yeah.
Yep.
So,
So yeah, but yeah, I think Ketchikan was a fairly easy port to get around, but I agree because you get right off of Ketchikan, you get on to the main drag, and you can try to go on the sidewalk, which can be very narrow in
right,
spots, but you go on that boardwalk, which will take you by all the shops, and it was rather loud and rather bumpy.
right. Yeah, and you go up Creek
So,
Street there and all that stuff, and
mhm,
but
yeah,
the thing was, we were like the redheaded stepchild. We didn't get to stop. We didn't birth there. We were like 20 minutes away. They bussed us
oh,
into
really?
Ketchikan. Yeah, that was.
So they have an accessible bus for you then?
Oh
Or is
yeah,
that an
yeah. It was
issue?
like they just they were rotating them out because they got so many people, that type of
Right,
deal. And they put you on the bus, and I think they were pretty much using like city buses anyway. So
right, right. Yeah. And
yeah,
but I did notice that there were a lot of accessible buses and transportation
hmm,
available even when you got into town.
right,
So if I needed to get a cab or go somewhere, outside of, the normal area, that I probably could have easily got something there. I do have a question here from X Small Service Dog. First time here, family service dog and I are booked for Alaska in May 2027 on Star Princess. Did I see a lot of service dogs on our cruise? Let me put it this way. I saw several dogs on the cruise. They are supposed to be service dogs. However, when you have a dog in a little plastic crate pulling around,
well,
I'm not sure how much of a service dog that is, but that's not for me to judge. The person had to go through the steps. But yes, I saw three different animals on our cruise that were service animals as classified by their owners. Um, when we were on Holland America, we saw two or three different service animals, service dogs that seemed to be more true service dogs.
yeah,
They were very well behaved. They stayed by their owner. They looked like if they were working all the time.
hmm,
But yes, so just make sure you check with the cruise line X Small Service Dog. Make sure you get all the paperwork necessary because I know when you're going to a different country, you may need different paperwork. But just make sure you get all the paperwork and stuff filled out for
yeah.
that. I'm not very familiar with all of that, but I know there's
That's
all
true.
the
You could have
steps.
an issue going into Canada,
Right,
so you want to double check that. But yeah, I noticed a couple of the same service dogs you saw. But then
right,
the ship itself, security, they've got it like a dog they use, for sniffing and stuff. So
right. And on Princess, we don't see that animal. When I sail Carnival, of course, I did see drug sniffing dog, and we saw that quite often, even in a lot of the different ports. But Royal Caribbean, you're not going to typically see a drug sniffing dog on the ship with you, or unless there's probably an issue. And we did not see one that was with security on Princess either. But yeah, so yeah, they really could do that. But yeah, just double check with cruise line and double check if you have a travel advisor that you're working with. Double check to make sure you get all the paperwork filled out. Make sure they're up to date on all of their shots and everything like that. And by law, they can ask you, is this a service animal? And then what service does this animal perform for you? By law, that's all that you're allowed to ask in the States. Now, Canada may be something different, but I know that's what we have here in the United States.
Yeah, and as far as I know, I think anymore all the cruise ships also have like a relief area for the dog, on a certain deck, and so.
Yes, and one thing that I did see, I saw something about service animals on ships. Is if you do have a service animal, you may want to get some artificial turf or something like that, and practice going with your pet on that, because they're going to need to be familiar with that area. And of course, you're going to be responsible for cleaning up after your pet also. They do supply bags and stuff like that.
I'm sure
they will sanitize it.
I'm sure if your dog is going in your room that they're not going to look too happily at that.
No, they're not going to be very happy about that. But on some of the lighted boards, we did see a sign that said, just to let you know, there are service animals on board the ship too. So they did make that notification. But yes, we saw a couple of dogs, but when a dog's being pulled around in a plastic crate, my BS detector goes off a little bit, but that's not for me to judge, and that's not for me to say. But they went through all those steps to have that animal there. Maybe there is something there that animal does for them, but yeah.
I wonder if there's like if you smoke in your room, they can nail you for a cleaning fee. I wonder if they could do the same with a dog. So
I would think so, because
I would too.
Because if it's making a mess in your room, or if it destroys something in your room.
Yeah, true. Chews up something in there.
Right. I mean, you would be responsible for that. And I'm sure that they do some extra steps for cleaning, because who knows if the person after you has allergies.
Well, that's true too.
That may stay in that room. So, because I know when we went to, what was it, in Skagway, we walked into what is that, Red Onion Saloon? Is that popular place? Not the Red Onion, or whatever the old brothel is that's in Skagway.
I'm pretty sure it's a Red Onion.
Is it Red Onion? We walked into there, and I could immediately tell that they had cats in that facility. So I could only stay in there for a short time.
Well, it was a cat house at one time.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I can handle those kind of cats, but not the
well, you set yourself
up
for
feline
that
type. Yeah, not the feline type.
Yeah, exactly.
I can't hang around too long. So, but my wife has gotten very well at carrying some Benadryl with me for those types of situations.
Yeah, because my wife is allergic to cats too. So
right. So, anyways, getting back, we were talking about Ketchikan. So, what excursion, if any, did you do up in Ketchikan?
Ketchikan, we didn't book anything. We just once we got into the town, 20 minutes later. Which, by the way, you said you did the lumberjack show, right?
We did.
Out there where this other dock is, they opened another lumberjack show out there.
Did they?
And I wondered, anybody that booked the lumberjack show thinking they were doing the one in town, if they, went to that one, So.
Huh. That's pretty interesting. That's a good question.
Somebody was saying that it had only been open 30, 60 days, something like that, fairly new.
Really?
And
yeah. And I know Mitch had asked about the lumberjack show previously. I can't remember if he asked me privately or something like that, but I thought the lumberjack show was a very cute show. It was a very good show to go watch. It was about 30 to 45 minutes long. They did a little competition. They divided the audience up into USA and Canada. I mean, if you were from USA or Canada. They said the left side of the audience is USA, the right side is Canada. We were sitting on the Canadian side, so you kind of cheer for them and boo and hiss and all that other fun stuff. Kind of like you go to a live show like that, and it was pretty fun.
Right.
So they did the log rolling, they did axe throwing, they scaled the pole, they chopped a few things, and made a few jokes here and there. So yeah, it was a good show.
Did they make the little chair for the kid and then give it to a kid, and
they
he's
sure
supposed
did.
to take
Yep.
it back on the ship somehow?
Yeah. Yeah, they sure did.
Yeah, how'd you like to be the parents trying to explain to the kid, no, this is not going home. We can't get this on the plane.
Yeah, exactly. So, yep. They
So
sure
anyway,
did
then
do that.
also in Ketchikan, I don't know if you saw it. Did you do the funicular that was there?
We did not.
Did you see it though?
No,
Oh, really? It's right off Creek Street there. So
really.
yeah. So
Yeah, we basically, hit a couple of shops on the way down to the lumberjack show, and then went into
Right.
the lumberjack show, and the wife wanted to hit a few more shops on the way back through. We just had to go like one block over to get to Creek Street, and I don't think we made it to Creek Street. So
okay.
even though that was a place that I wanted to go, but sometimes
Right.
we just don't, make time for that. And of course, me being the fearmongerer that don't want to be a pier runner because I don't run.
Right.
We're always up back on the ship at least an hour to 2 hours early.
Yeah, usually the other thing is there's like a body of water right there, and you can usually see a lot of salmon and stuff, but
Right at Creek
this
Street.
time of the year it was like, hardly anything in there.
Yeah, that's what they said. It was, it's prime time right now.
Yeah, but it was odd that there was hardly anything there, so.
Really.
But yeah, anyway, the funicular, you ride it up to the top, up to this lodge. It's $3 a person.
Okay.
I took my scooter into the funicular and went up. I wanted to do it in Juneau, to go up Mount Roberts.
Right.
But as you know, that wasn't running still.
Yeah, that's the one that kind of had the little accident a couple months ago.
Yeah. So, but yeah, I was impressed that I could get my scooter into that thing, get it up there. Then we looked around the lodge and all that stuff, the property, and then came back down. And you can either come back down that way, or you can walk down. They've got 2 trails you could go down, and I chose not to take the trail. So
which could have been
a good move,
a good choice.
Yeah,
could have been a very good choice. Yeah.
Yeah.
And for those of you who are looking for clothes who may be on the bigger size, a lot of the shops do have the bigger size clothing too.
Yeah, I was amazed too. Yeah, yep. And they're reasonably priced. So.
Yeah, it's not too bad.
No.
Not too bad. I mean, it's definitely a lot cheaper than what I've seen when you go to like Nassau and Aruba and Curacao and all those other places. It's a little bit cheaper priced, even for the sweatshirts.
Yeah, well, the jackets too, like because they have those reversible jackets where it's fleece and nylon.
Yeah, $24.99, $34.99, something like that.
Yeah, something like that. And I looked at one. There was one I really wanted, and I thought, well, when would I wear it? I live in Arizona,
Exactly. When you go to the mall, if it gets too cold in the mall.
Yeah, exactly. I'd wear it twice a year, and that'd be about it. But it was a real nice coat, and it was like next to nothing, coat-wise price.
For sure. So after Ketchikan, where'd you guys? You guys went to Juneau, and did you guys tour the glacier? Did you guys cruise by the glacier?
No, we did a gold mine tour, and I could take the scooter into the gold mine. They had prepared the road surface there, and it was like another, I don't know if it was male or female, I don't remember, but somebody was there with a wheelchair, and they were pushing somebody around with a wheelchair. So that was very accessible. And you go in, they talk about the history of mining and all that stuff, and then they do some demonstration like drilling, and then there was like another machine that did I don't know what it did, crush the ore or something.
Right.
Very noisy, so they give you earplugs for that. And when you come out, you go over and they talk some more on the history of gold mining in Alaska and all that stuff. There's a little ramada you sit under while the woman is talking, and then you go over and you pan for gold. And they give you like a little gold pan, and whatever you find, you get to keep. But you're not gonna get rich. So
I was going to say, so you're not a new millionaire, is what you're saying?
Yeah, you're not paying for your cruise, paying for that gold. So But we did, they make sure you're finding flakes, so you're not disappointed. So they've salted the salted the thing, you know.
Yeah, they give you some teasers there to
Yeah.
make you come back again. So
And then you go into the gift shop and they're willing to mount those in a necklace for you, your little gold flakes, you know.
for a fee, probably more than what the gold flake is worth, I'm sure. Yeah, when we toured, our ship went past the glacier, and then we turned around and then we went into Juneau, and we did the Mendenhall Glacier Explorer Tour. And
Right.
what that consisted of is, as soon as we got off the ship, we got to a bus, and they did have an accessible bus for us,
Mm-hmm.
and it was actually a double decker bus, which was really nice. And we got to spend about 2.5 to 3 hours over at the Mendenhall Glacier, which is probably about a 15-minute bus ride from
Right.
Bridgeport. And it's actually a national park. And what I found amazing is, because they said you got all these trails to go through, and like you said, you didn't want to go on the trail. Well, we started going down a couple of these trails because they said one trail is the photo trail, and then another trail is called the Nugget Trail, and they had a longer trail. Well, I went down the photo trail and it was pretty well paved. I was like, I could do this. So I told my wife, I said, well, why don't we go down the Nugget Trail? She goes, are you sure? Because, if you run into problems, can't get you out. I was like, look, there's 1.5 million people here. Okay. If I start getting into a spot where I can't go, I'll just stop and you can keep going on, go take pictures, do whatever. I don't want to ruin her experience. So, but they're pretty much either the crushed gravel or actually asphalted trails, and I had no problems.
Yeah.
And so it was really nice to be able to do that. So if you are in a wheelchair or have a mobility scooter, you can do the Mendenhall Glacier and the trails. I did not try that third longer trail. They do have some beaches that you can go off on that are basically sand beaches that I
Right.
did not even attempt to go to. My
No,
wife
I
did
wouldn't.
go through one of those, but
Yeah.
so Tricia, the class rule: if you're going to eat some food, you got to have enough for all of us. So
Yeah, actually, we went to Mendenhall. Well, like I said, 8 years ago when we were there, and
right.
I was like, and I was having trouble walking and stuff like that, so I let everybody get off the bus, and there was a female park guard there, ranger. I'll think of the word.
Hmm.
So as I'm getting off, she's like, she says, "Sir, you okay?" And I go like, "Where am I?" She goes, "You don't know where you are?" And I'm like, well, here's somebody I can play a game on. So, but I didn't. I hardly moved around at all there. I just kind of got off the bus,
Right.
sat there for a while, and then I kind of walked down towards that building there,
The
the observation gift shop thing there,
right.
and
Right.
but yeah, it would have
Yeah.
been nice to go back there now because I can get around and to go
Right.
see it. But
And that's the ranger station that they have there, and it's got the gift shop up there, and it does
right,
have a lot of steps to get up, but they do have an elevator, so
right,
they do have an accessible elevator down there that people can use.
mm-hmm,
So that's very nice. So that was our experience. So yeah, it was very accessible there
right,
for sure. So after that, you guys went on down to Skagway, right?
right,
Okay.
and
So
we.
what did you think about Skagway? What was your experience there?
Well, I like Skagway. We did an excursion. We didn't do the train because we'd done the train before, and it was kind of a toss up between do we want to do the train again, which we really would have liked to, or do this motor coach thing where we went up to this huge suspension bridge in Canada and check that out. And it's built over a gorge thing and
Right.
water, the whole 9 yards. And we decided to do that. Well, that's not accessible. So when we left the ship, I looked outside because we had a balcony and the ship was, you could see where the ramp and stuff getting off the boat. And it was like a huge incline you had to go because you had to take a shuttle to get off the pier because of the rock slides that they had there a few years
Hmm.
back. And so I looked out there and I thought, oh man, I'll never make it up that hill. And when we got down to the door to exit, I said, is there anybody that could, give me a push me up in a wheelchair? And he said, oh yeah, sure. So they got a wheelchair, pushed me up to the top of the hill, got on the shuttle. Then we met our excursion bus and we went up to Canada. And when we got up there to the suspension bridge, like I said, I didn't have my scooter. I had to walk around, and it was challenging, but you just kind of take breaks when you need to and stuff like
Right.
that. And
Yeah.
hopefully, eventually, I'll get that video edited and out, and you can see, what
Yeah.
spectacular views there are up there and stuff.
Yeah.
So,
That'd be amazing for sure. Yeah, we did the train this year, and they do have two accessible cars on the train, and they have the full size lifts. And like Randy said, we had to shuttle two, and getting up that ramp is a fairly steep ramp. I mean, it's a good
yeah,
angle, and it's a good length. I mean, I want to say it's a good 30 yards. You
could
guys
be easily, yeah, yeah.
at least. So, and then you've got to board a shuttle to take you down to this community area because of that rock slide.
Right.
Um, because originally the train where Princess parks would typically pick you up right outside from the gangway, but because of the rock slide, that didn't happen. But they did have two accessible train cars for that train. Now, not to go too far off track, my wife and I did meet this nice young
No
couple
pun
there.
intended.
Right. And yeah,
Yeah.
we met this nice young couple there, and she was in a wheelchair and a boot and had
Hmm.
some crutches. And we were talking, and she goes, "Yeah, last night I was going down some steps and I missed the last step and broke my ankle."
Oh,
I'm
wow.
like, well, at least you got some cruise insurance and stuff. Oh no, we don't have cruise insurance. Get cruise insurance, boys and girls, no matter
Absolutely.
how young or
I'll tell you a
how.
story about Alaska and cruise insurance. So,
So, um, yeah, so this happened in international waters. So who knows if their insurance is going to pay for it or not.
yeah.
Um, so yeah, because it happened when it was on the ship. So so I'm sure they had to make arrangements to get all that stuff paid for before they could leave the ship. But they rented her a wheelchair, they gave her crutches, they put her in a boot, and the thing is people say that the prices on a cruise ship are outrageous. I work in medicine, and they're not outrageous. That's what you would pay if you didn't have insurance.
Go ahead.
I mean, if you ever look at your hospital bill before insurance kicks in, those are the going rates. I mean, that's pretty much what the going rates are for healthcare nowadays. So get your insurance, boys and girls. That's bottom line. But anyways, they did have the two train cars that were accessible. They do have the full style lifts to get you up into the train, and it was a very relaxing, train.
Mhm.
It was about a good 2.5 hour round trip thing, and our train actually the train actually does go up into Canada, but you don't need your passports because it turns around and you don't stop. So it only goes into Canada for like maybe 2 seconds. So yeah, you're passing, the Canadian border now. They've got the flags and everything right there, and then you just basically turn a loop and then turn back around and then head back down to your station. So
Yeah, because when we did that, like we did that 20 years ago, and they did stop, and the guys got on, they checked your passports and all that stuff. So
right,
interesting to know they're not doing that anymore.
right. I think there is an option that you can purchase that does go further into Canada. That's a longer trip.
Yeah,
But yeah, we just did this one, and so yeah, we did not have to because it said passports are not needed. So I just wanted to double check with my wife. I said, "Did I read this right?" Just to make sure, me being the worry wart that I am.
yeah. Getting back to the insurance on this current cruise, during the bingo contest, this woman had a stroke, and they come in, they got her out, blah blah blah. They came and they brought a helicopter and lifted her off the ship that
Mhm.
way. Because we were on our way back, to the U.S. at that point,
Right.
and and thinking to myself, man, I hope she had insurance because 20 years ago we did the cruise. My brother had a heart attack in the dining room, and they took him off in Juneau. They flew him to Anchorage. They put a defibrillator in him. It would have been $30,000 to fly him from Juneau to Anchorage. That's just for the flight. That doesn't count the hospital or any of that.
Right.
Fortunately, we all had travel insurance. And that's why I tell people, and I'll hear this crap from people like, oh no, I'm healthy. Nothing's going to happen. Okay, well, you're walking along down the dock. You get distracted. You trip and fall. You're going down a set of stairs. You break your ankle.
Yeah.
You're as healthy as a horse. Well, too bad. You just, why didn't you buy
Exactly.
the $100 worth of insurance?
Exactly.
you know. So I,
And
you know,
and
I personally, I don't want to hear anybody complain about. No, I don't want to buy insurance. You know, it's
right.
just fair to
And
me.
yep. And she said that when she was in the medical center, that there was a lady that got brought in that broke her shoulder. What that can mean a lot of different things. My guess is probably broke her humerus or something like that. But they actually had to take her off in Juneau and
Yeah,
fly her back down to the States
yeah,
for surgery. So, but the lady that broke her ankle said that she's going to need surgery when she gets back. But she had to, they had a boot on her. They let her continue the cruise, and she's
hmm,
flying out today and going home. She was from the East Coast somewhere. But yeah, that would not be fun, especially with the pressure changes.
oh yeah,
Because I know, like when I broke my arm, I can tell when the weather was changing. The barometric pressure differences and
hmm,
stuff like that. So that would not be comfortable at all. So um, yeah, so it's yeah, definitely get the cruise insurance. I mean, it's a
oh
small
absolutely,
amount. It's better to have it, not need it, than to need it and not have it for sure.
yeah. Or you leave and your flight gets canceled. Well, the
Right.
ship's not sitting there waiting for you, so
No.
Which is the other
Or
thing is,
yeah,
unless you live next door to the port, leave a day early to, get to the
right.
port. At least one
Or
day.
if or if your suitcase gets rerouted to Sacramento instead of
Yeah.
Seattle, and
Yeah,
you're getting ready
exactly.
to board the ship, and you
Hmm.
have no clothes. Well, sometimes a cruise line will work with you and give you, they'll give you some, onboard credit or something to go buy a couple of shirts or something like that. But you need some drawers and everything like
I was
that.
gonna say,
So
when's the last time you saw underwear for sale on a cruise ship,
exactly, exactly.
So,
So
and I'm not saying,
um,
maybe they do have something like that separate, for people, I don't know. Never asked,
right,
didn't need to. But yeah, one
exactly.
thing,
So
my wife and I have talked about every time we go on a trip. Well, you should give me some of your clothes. I'll give you some of mine. So never done it. Fortunately, we've never lost our suitcase.
right.
But
See, and my wife and I, we do that. So
oh, you do
I'll
do
put
that?
I'll put yeah I'll put like one thing of clothes in her suitcase, and she'll put one set in mine. So just in
Right.
case, because being a bigger guy, I can't exactly run down to Walmart and buy clothes. So at least if I'm on a ship, I can wash that stuff over and over again, and let it
Right.
air dry or what have you, and stuff. So we can do that. Mitch, I'm not back home. I'm currently still in Seattle. I'm going to be here until Tuesday morning. Tomorrow, I'm going to meet Chris and Liz from Carnival Cruise Addicts. We're going to have some lunch, and then I'll be flying back home on Tuesday. So
And
I
then
am
when do you go back to
still
school?
in Seattle. I don't really want to talk about that, but it's going to be pretty soon.
Yeah.
Here within a couple of weeks. Well, I start work within a couple of weeks. I think around the 1st of August is our first practices. And then we don't start school until the 13th, but we've got a couple weeks of practices with the athletic teams that
Yeah.
I need to work with. So
I
that's
think
what pays for my cruising.
I think my grandkids go back next week. So
Yeah. So got to do it because I'm not retired yet. So I've got to keep the income flowing until I can get that retirement income and go live on a ship somewhere. So
there you go. Yeah.
that's the
So
goal.
yeah, the only other thing I was gonna add too is when I mentioned about, doing the suspension bridge. Then we came back. I got my scooter off the ship, and then we went into the town of Skagway and we,
Right.
explored around and saw that saw that train with the big snow
Hmm.
thing on the front, clearing the
Yep. Yep.
snow and all the
Yeah, that was
touristy
parked.
things.
Yeah, that was parked over by the Disney and the Royal Caribbean docks.
Yeah,
Because yeah, what was nice is and I talked about this a little bit backstage with you is with us on our side of the dock, we had Star Princess and Holland America, um, but Holland America actually had to tender into Skagway.
yeah,
So that would have been kind of unfortunate if I would have had to have given up my scooter, not be able to go in there. I mean, that would have changed a whole lot of things. You know, Granted they had a bus pass we could have bought, but I still wouldn't want my wife having to push me around because some of those curb cuts can be pretty steep, especially in the over town.
well,
Because you go by the uh, Park Service area that's right there, and the historical town and stuff. They do have it elevated a little bit higher too.
yeah.
So
Yeah, pretty. I think it was. I think I mentioned to you, it was Juneau where we had to do a tender in, And then
Mhm.
during the day, they did manage to get the ship docked.
They were able to
And
reposition.
I didn't have any issue with the scooter. I could drive it right on. It
Right.
was one of those
Right.
kind of tender boats. They have those like in Cabo too, where you can drive them right
Right.
on. But I've also encountered the other type where I got to fold the scooter up, and they'll carry it on for you and then carry it
Right.
back off. So
Right. See, and I've got the larger scooter, so they won't be able to do that
yeah,
with my scooter. So, um, yeah. So I mean, I'd end up because like when I went down to Cabo, we had a tender, and you couldn't drive because I was on Princess for that cruise when we went down to the Mexican Riviera, and we couldn't take the scooter onto the tender. So
seriously,
I'd
wow. Because
pre-planned. I had to yeah.
I've never had an issue down there with my scooter and the tender boats because you just drive
Yeah.
them right on. Huh.
Yeah, yep. They would not let me do it. So because I even talked to them at the shore excursions desk and
Yeah.
everything else, and they said, because they just said no, you can't do it. So
That's weird. They wouldn't be using the same tender boats.
right, you would
Yeah.
think maybe it's just the way the ships are built. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. You know.
So, but anyways, so that was pretty nice. And then, so how was Prince Rupert for
It was
you?
very
From,
nice. Yeah, we got off. We did a trolley tour. They had an accessible trolley. You could book it either way, accessible or non-accessible. So they had accessible trolleys. They gave us a tour of the town there, the city. It was about an hour and a half. And then we also got food because they would stop. There was 3 restaurants, and so you got like food samples from these different
Mhm.
restaurants. And like one place we got skewers. We got like a beef and a chicken skewer.
Right,
Another place we got a thing similar to fry bread, where they gave you maple syrup. And I was going to say, hey, is this from Vermont? But I didn't think that'd go over very well. And, what was the third one? I don't know. It was all good, whatever it was. So if you ever Prince Rupert, do the trolley tour. So
right,
and then we kind of just traveled around the area there by the port, and we went over to the museum, and it was getting kind of late, and it was like they charged you to come in, so it was like, well, we didn't really have time, to devote to see it. Why pay the money? So then we just kind of
right,
went around a couple other spots and, went back to the ship. So,
right.
but
Yeah,
no, it was a nice change of pace to go there instead of like, big cities like Vancouver and
right,
Victoria.
right. Yeah, Victoria, I thought was pretty nice. To me, it didn't really seem like too big of a city, but the more we got into downtown, it kind of did.
Yeah.
Um, and I was watching Coach Cruise's show the other night um, during my spotty internet,
Hmm.
and I said, before he signed off, I said, "Hey, Coach, I'm going to be in Victoria, blah blah blah." And he goes, "Hey, I was just in Victoria, blah blah blah. I met the manager Devin at the place
Oh,
called
thank
Bard
you.
and Banker." I
I'm
went to the
reading. I was
place.
reading the crawl
Yeah,
there. Thanks for watching, and
yeah,
do it. You'll enjoy that little excursion. So
yeah, for sure. But he said to go to Bard and Bankers and ask for the manager Devin, and they have a shop there called the Shaft, which is like it's kind of like a coffee type shot, and it's in a larger than normal shot glass, and it comes with a straw. And they say if you want to drink like a local, you drink it all up at once. If you want to be, somebody else, you just drink it as you need to. Well, me being the person I am, I wanted to drink it all at once. And at first, I thought it was kind of sketchy because I talked to the waitress there, and at first she goes, "Well, Devin can sometimes be hard to find, and not be able to track him down." So I was like, "Okay, so she's going to go say I can't find Devin, blah blah blah." So too bad, so sad. Well, no, Devin comes out, says, "Hey, yeah, Coach Cruise, yeah, he was in here the other day, blah blah blah." I said, "Yeah, anybody who's part of the Coach Cruise crew and mentions it, you will get a buy one get one free, but you got to talk to Devin." So he's the one that made the deal with him. And Barton Banker's a pretty spiffy downtown restaurant. A
hmm
burger there costs $20. So that's the kind of prices. So we got to buy one get one free shot, and sure enough, it he honored that deal. And I said, "Hey, it's pretty awesome. So if you are a member of the Coach Cruise crew, or even if you're just going to Victoria, just make sure you find Devin when you're there and get your buy one, get one free shop. So, and a lot of the shops in Victoria, I did notice it say, if you pay with US dollars, you will get your change back in Canadian money. So luckily for us, we had some Canadian money left over from pre-COVID when we were supposed to go to Niagara Falls, and COVID kicked in. So we were paying in Canadian money, so they weren't going to make too much of a profit off of us. So they probably frowned upon us paying in Canadian dollars.
I think I would have paid with my credit card then,
Yeah. But yeah, we paid, because we bought a magnet. My wife collects keychains. So, but yeah, we went ahead and used our Canadian money. Finally got rid of some of that. So.
Yeah. Well, the place I grew up in New York was like about 60 miles south of Buffalo.
Right.
And Canadian money was, you just see a lot of it, but it was exchanged just like U.S. money. You got a dollar,
Right.
still considered, So the last time, I don't know, back when my mother was alive, I went back and we went to the store and they gave me, and I said, I don't want this because I can't come to Arizona and use it, to get rid of it. So, so.
And the vending machines won't take it. They'll spit it out.
Yeah.
So yeah, we had like 75 cents or 65 cents in change in the coins. So I told my wife, next time we walk by one of these sidewalk performers, just drop those coins in the thing.
Right.
We can't do anything with those coins.
Mm-hmm.
So, but the loonies and toonies I'll keep,
Right.
because the loonies are $1 because they have a $1 coin and the toonies a $2 coin. So yeah, that was something that we did. So, does anybody have any questions for Randy or I before we go? But yeah,
did we cover all the ports or not?
I think we did. Did you?
Catch can? Yeah, I think we did. Yeah.
Seattle to get on the ship, it was fairly easy for us. You went out of San Francisco. How was your boarding process out of San Francisco?
Oh, it's great. The only bad thing was we got off and the Uber dropped us off. And so we go down towards the door and it's, and there's like everybody there thinks they're in charge. So this one guy sees me on the scooter. He goes, "Oh, you got to go around to the other side." And I said, "Well, what about, there's people with wheelchairs?" He goes, "No, you got to go to the other side." I said, "Okay." So we're still waiting. They wouldn't let us in anyway. So we're kind of wandering around, blah, blah, blah. I go over after a while and I see the people in scooters are going in that door. And I went over and I talked to this lady and I said, "Well, am I supposed to come in this way?" She goes, "Oh, yeah, this is where you come in."
Right.
And I'm like, "Oh, okay." I just, because some guy told me to go. And then she's like, "Who told you that? Which guy was it?" And then never mind, not important.
All right, we got a couple of questions here from Cam. He goes, "What's the best thing you ate in Alaska?"
Honestly, well, we did go to a salmon bake, and after we did that road trip up to Canada and Skagway, and then they took us over to it's, what is this called, Liarsville or Liarstown or something, and one side of it is kind of a recreated old camp looking thing where I guess the press lived there to report on gold mining and stuff like that. So anyway, the other side, that's where they had the salmon bake. So you just went up. It's kind of a buffet style thing. You grabbed your food and then they, took a salmon off the grill, gave it to you. And you could eat all you wanted. And that was actually very good salmon, So
yeah.
I don't recall eating any other places off the ship in Alaska.
Right.
So.
Yep. And then the next question is, did I find it difficult to have anything there with my allergies? For those of you who may not know, I do have seafood and shellfish allergies, which seem to be getting worse. And I make it a habit really not to eat off the ship if I can at all help it. And if I do, it's usually at a prepackaged place, or I'll go to a known restaurant like a McDonald's or Burger King just to get a snack if I need something. Like when we were in Ketchikan, I think I got a Snicker bar. When we were in Juneau, I don't think I had anything. When we were in Skagway, we stopped at Richter's Popcorn and got a popcorn.
Right.
So I didn't get anything there. And we were there long enough that we went in town, came back on the ship, ate lunch, and we went back in back in to catch our train excursion.
Right.
So now, if you do go on the train excursion, take snacks with you because they do sell like a little $5 snack box. It's like pretzels, a kind bar, and something else, but you want snacks with you.
Right.
So I did not. I usually make it a point not to eat, and that's not even just for Alaska, but that's even when I go down to the Caribbean and Bahamas, and I just make it a habit because I don't want to take that risk. I don't want to ruin my vacation and have Amy and her vacation early because I get sick or something like that and have to stay behind. So I try at all possible not to eat if I can help it.
Yeah. There's that big crab restaurant there,
Right.
and boy, anytime you went by it, a line out, out the door and down the
Yeah.
dock, and it was like, yeah, I'm not standing in line to go eat. So
Right. Antoinette, appreciate you coming by. Thank you. Let's see, Tricia will be cruising from Anchorage to Vancouver, so you're probably doing a one-way. Oh, speaking of one-way stuff, I did a little bit of research. So for those of you who do not own your own scooter and you do need to rent a scooter, places like Special Needs at Sea and Scoot Around
Scoot Around.
Scoot Around, they do rent one-way scooters. You're going to pay out the behind for it because I did a mock booking with Scoot Around from Vancouver to Whittier, and for a 1 week cruise, it was like $450 for a 1 week cruise, which is outrageous.
Yeah.
I've got my scooter right now for 9 days. I think I paid $225 here in Seattle. So,
Speaking of which, there was a place there outside the terminal in San Francisco, and they had like about 4 scooters parked there. This was Scoot Around. And so, I thought I had a lot of time before we got in the door, so I went over and because I had done a video, I don't know if you saw it, where I did
right.
Long Beach, where I, interviewed them about renting a
Mhm.
scooter. I thought, well, maybe I can do the same thing here. Well, that's all it was like 4 scooters. And as I was going around, I was going to say scooting around, going around, I saw a guy standing over by 3 more a little ways away. And I went over and I said, are you by any chance the scooter on guy? Oh, yeah. Yeah. He just hanging out in the middle of, and it's like, well, somebody pulls up to get a scooter and you're way over here,
Right.
so, but,
Yeah, especially, yeah.
no, I was gonna
Yeah.
say, but, they do, you can reserve it and it'll be on the ship when you get on there.
Right.
They'll deliver it, so.
Yeah, Special Needs at Sea had it to where I think the scooter was delivered in the ship, but when you got to return it, you returned it outside of the ship. Because there was a Special Needs at Sea there in Seattle that had a big tent area that had a ton of scooters there. So, but I got mine from Cloud of Goods, which is contracts with different companies. So yeah, I reserved mine probably a long time ago, and and if you're ever going to stay in Seattle or even go to any of the places in Alaska, make sure you do have a good battery and a good motor because, as Randy will attest, going up the ramps to get out of the ports are battery killers. And if you're ever around Seattle, the hills are monstrous.
Yeah.
And if you don't have a good quality scooter, if your scooter's not in good shape or if the battery tends to die on you, you're going to end up with a dead battery really, really quick.
Yeah, make sure you're all charged up. I've actually got a spare battery now, so that's very handy, because
right.
we've gotten caught a couple times where the battery died and we're not on the ship, so we got to push it back. So
and I usually carry the charging thing around with me until
I do too.
Until I feel comfortable of how long of a charge I'm going to have.
Yeah.
Because whenever I get one of these rented scooters, you never know what you're going to get. So is it going to last? Is it not going to last? And I've had some that have puttered out on me. So, all right.
Another thing that people like to look for in ports, a lot of restrooms. There's a lot of restrooms, and Anchorage to Vancouver. Depends on what souvenirs you want to buy, Tricia.
Yeah. Um, like Randy said, I think by having a credit card that has no international fees, I think you'd be better off doing that in Canada. We just happen to have some Canadian cash laying around from a previous trip that we did not get to take. So I just used that when we were up in Canada this time around. So, but yeah, a lot of the places will take credit card. A lot of them, love the tap credit card. So they'll be very happy to take your money that way.
So did you buy any souvenirs, shirts and
We
stuff?
uh, we got shirts in every port except for Victoria, and then I did get a sweatshirt when we went to Ketchikan because I just wanted one other layer.
Right.
Right, and they did have a larger size sweatshirt available. So I did get an extra sweatshirt. My wife got an extra sweatshirt too, I think from Ketchikan too. But got t-shirts, and the t-shirts were fairly inexpensive. They were anywhere between $10 to $20
Yeah.
a shirt.
Did you go to the
Which is-
Tonga store there?
Yep,
Yeah. That's a good store. Actually, they got a
it
couple,
is.
locations, and
It is.
if you get the coupon book, that's even better.
Right.
But that's where I saw the jacket, and I thought, I can't justify buying that. So
Okay, the dog sledding. They did that, I want to say, in Juneau, because I had some people talking about taking a helicopter, and I think that's what Greg and Michelle did. Didn't they go do the dog sledding? Was that in
I
Juneau
think so. Yeah.
with a helicopter ride? So I think Juneau is the dog sled thing. And the other thing that you'll have when you go on Princess is they have puppies at sea. So on one day at one of the ports, they will bring in Malamute puppies or musher puppies that one of the local mushers does as getting ready for the Iditarod race. And they'll actually bring them on board for the guests to observe. You can't really go pet them because you got 4,000 guests and you've got 6 puppies, so you can't exactly go handle them because there ain't going to be a puppy left if you go do that. So, yeah, the dog sledding. I think that's Juneau is where they do that. But
Yeah. They also though have I guess you'd call it a dry sledding, where it has the wheels on the sled,
right,
and you can ride, in the sled and stuff. But yeah, it's something you got to look up. Check the excursions with your cruise line or Viator or any of those
Right.
independent ones.
right.
I highly recommend Viator. I've had no issues with them at all.
Yeah, and
so,
Keith says to check Skagway because they've got some good sledding excursions too. So,
yeah.
yeah, if we don't know the answers, we definitely have somebody in the chat that definitely knows the answers for sure. So.
Or if you got a question later, write to me, DM me, whatever.
Exactly. Yeah, shoot us a message. We'll find out for you for sure. There's somebody around here that knows it. And Scott is our resident expert too, controversial cruising, because he's been to Alaska several times in the past. And he, if you have any questions about Alaska, he's got some good Alaska videos that he's still putting out. Randy, I think, is our resident expert with Alaska too. He's been there. This is your 3rd time, I think.
Third time. Well, technically, I've been there 4 times, but first time was for work, and the last 3 just pleasure
for recreation. So
Yeah.
this is my first Alaskan cruise. So and I wanted to really hit it more from the accessibility standpoint. And, Randy's been a tremendous resource for myself in that aspect too. So, I'm really honored and privileged to have him come on the show with me too. So,
well, I was glad you invited me.
Well, I appreciate it. I mean, because you are a wealth of resource and a wealth of knowledge when it comes to this. Like I've always said, you are the OG when it comes to mobility issues and cruising. So,
There you go. Every Tonga store in Ketchikan, but you got to get the coupon book.
Yeah, for sure.
You got to get those. I don't know what $3 hats or something ridiculous.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. So yeah, but there's deals to be had. I
Yeah.
did go to the Arctic Bar, which Scott did recommend up there. I got the pinky shot. It was a delicious shot. My wife even liked it, and she's not much of a drinker.
Did you get the duck
You know,
fart?
we did some duck farts in Juneau.
Yeah.
Um, we did the duck fart in Juneau, and yeah, it was really good. So yeah, and then after I had the first duck fart, I had several duck farts on the ship.
Were you able to were you able to take the scooter into the bar?
I did not. We tried to go into the bar, but it was very packed, so we went
Yeah,
around to
that's
where they just do the shots
yeah, that was pretty much what
outside.
we did. And then by the time we discovered where they did the shots, it was like, ah, forget it. You know,
Yeah,
so we didn't do it.
yeah. So, and we found the shot place on the way back through because we stopped at a couple of gift shops, a coffee shop, and some other places. So yeah, we went through there, and then we saw the shot place right there, and um, it was just connected to the bar. So we were like, might as well do
Yeah,
it. We're
yeah.
here.
When in Rome.
Hmm. For sure.
And did you ever see Greg and Michelle's video when they were in Juneau
Yes.
about the bear?
Yeah.
Yeah, so we're going down the same walkway, and I'm telling my wife
Yeah.
about it. We get there and we look, no bear. Get to look, oh, there's a guy sitting on some steps back there, but still
Hmm.
never saw a bear wandering up the steps. So,
Right. Yeah.
which I don't think I'd want to see a bear that close.
No. No, I wouldn't want to see a bear that close either. So definitely for sure. So, all right, boys and girls, appreciate y'all coming in. It's about 7 minutes after 6 in the Central Time, 7 minutes after 4 in Seattle. So, Randy, you got any last words you want to part us with?
Oh, let me think. Was there anything? I'm sure I'll think of something I forgot as soon as we go off the air that I should have mentioned. But no, just as I tell people, make excuses or make it happen.
Yeah.
You know, don't be afraid to try it.
Yeah.
If you got a scooter, wheelchair, any of that stuff, a walker. And there's people that'll help you. I mean, you hear these stories about these rude individuals and stuff like that. And honestly, on the grand scale of things, people are willing to help you. You get on, I don't know if you
Hey.
encountered this, on the ship, people will actually hold the door for you. It's not
Mhm.
all rude. It's usually young kids, and I forgive them because they're young kids, and they don't know
Right.
any better. But it's rare that adults will, act like
Right.
idiots when it concerns you.
And to kind of go off topic a little bit, I thought the elevator etiquette on Star has been some of the best elevator etiquette I've seen.
Yeah,
Because
I think it's improved
you'll get
actually over the last couple of years,
so
that people have become aware of this stuff.
yeah,
And,
'cause you'll get people that rush right onto the elevator and rush right off or whatever, and
yeah,
but I mean, they'll back up, they'll see people in a scooter, they'll hold the door for you. Ask you what floor you're going to, and oh, you want to get on here? I know I'm waiting for this because they got the smart elevators on Star, so I'm waiting for elevator
yeah.
E instead of elevator B or whatever. So
How do you like those elevators?
on Star, I thought it worked fairly well.
Well,
On
I think once you know
um,
how to do it, there's no problem.
right,
I think it's rather convenient. So,
yeah, on Carnival, I don't think they were as efficient
mhm.
as they were, but on Star, because they had three banks of elevators and they had three elevators, um, or six elevators per bank. So they worked fairly well. I mean, when people were coming back from excursions and stuff like that, you would get the elevators are full, so you just got to kind of be persistent about pushing the button every time because you push the handicap button and then you select it, and it'll usually pick an elevator close to where you're at, so you don't have to back up and forth. So be
Right.
within one or two doors of where you're at. So,
Yeah.
but I'm a fan of the smart elevators. My wife, not too much of a fan because she likes to get inside and press the button. I mean, every time she did that, probably for about the first 2 or 3 days, she was going to look at press a button. When after we got inside, I was like, "No, dear, we've already done that selection." So,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
So, do you always book an accessible room?
I do. If I
Uh,
cannot get an accessible room, I don't feel I could cruise because the size scooter that I have, I could probably
right.
fit it in a regular size cabin, but I don't ever want to take that chance.
Yeah. See what I do, because I've never booked one. I always because I can walk around in the room and all that stuff. I don't really need it. I'd rather leave it for somebody else.
Right.
But on this ship, which I've had happen before, well, first of all, we look at the map, the deck map, and we look for like, say you're getting off the elevator and you're around the corner, the room right there, straight shot to your
Right.
room. So we get something like that, or if you're coming down a hall and there's a door, you can. Basically, the idea is not to be doing 4-point turns trying to get turned in those narrow
Right.
hallways. And anyway, the only problem I have though is I have to pull the handles sometimes off, or the armrest off my scooter
Mhm.
to fit through the door, which I had to do on the Luminosa. It was that tight, but I could still drive the scooter right in. So
Right. Well, the issue that I had on Star is the hallways are different widths, and the hallway that we were on the 12th floor, was a, was a more narrow hallway. They have two different
mhm,
types of carts that they clean the rooms with. One holds all the towels and stuff like that, and then the other one holds dishes and other things when they clear the rooms.
right,
The towel cart I could get past without an issue. The other cart I could not get past without having to do some maneuverability. And it was a problem if I was traveling by myself. Now, 9 times out of 10, Amy is going the same place I am. But there were a
right.
couple of occasions where I was by myself, and I would literally push that cart in front of me all the way down the hallway
Oh,
to
really?
get to
Wow.
a
Yeah.
yeah, to get to a zigzag session just to get
Right.
past. So otherwise, I was not getting past it.
Yeah.
So
I mean,
um,
I've pushed the cart closer to a wall so I could get past it, but I never pushed one all the way
no,
down the
no,
hall.
I literally had to push it down the hallway. And
No.
if the steward or anybody ever saw me, they would come out and help. You
Oh,
know,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
I mean, they are more than helpful to do that, but it's just a pain in the butt. But because whoever designed those ships did not design them for accessibility, at
Yeah.
least the hallways. Now the ship itself was very accessible. Had power doors everywhere around the ship except for the cabin, of course. The cabin was more than spacious. Had the largest balcony I've ever had. It was basically a double balcony, in my
Right.
opinion. It had the ramp to get outside for the balcony and everything. So it had the walk-in shower, the larger shower. So
Well, I mean, how much
yeah,
walking can you do?
I can usually go about 100 yards.
So if you're in the same
I
situation.
could,
You could get around the room okay by yourself.
yeah, I can get
Yeah,
around the
right,
room if the ship's rocking. I'll need
right.
something to help balance. But I do like having the bars in the restroom, in case the floor's wet or something like that.
Oh, yeah,
So
yeah.
so that's nice too. So,
Mhm.
but yeah, the other thing is Star Princess. I think is a great ship for the Caribbean. I don't think it's the best ship for Alaska
Yeah.
because they do not have a solarium. Their pools are exposed.
Oh, yeah,
Um,
yeah,
I mean, the kids will get in there. The kids will get in it no matter what the temperature is.
yeah.
But yeah, so it's one of those things
Yeah, because see, the
that
Luminosa, they would close the roof where the pool was. However, not that anybody was going to use it. They don't have the water slides on that ship,
right,
and
right, and of course, Princess doesn't have water slides, but um, you know, to get from one side to another, they've only got two passable decks that I found. And that's deck 17 and deck 8, where you got to pass through the casino.
oh
Otherwise, you got
yeah,
to go down hallways to get to like the buffet,
right,
to get to Love by Brito, which is a specialty restaurant. So yeah, it was kind of not laid out very well. And get to the main dining halls, you got to go through some um, cabin hallways.
yeah,
So
yeah. That sounds, I mean, that's kind of a common thing, it seems, with some of the Carnival ships, Princess ships, that,
right,
you know, trying to find a deck that you can go all the way across. And
yeah, for sure,
so,
for sure.
uh,
So
what was that? There was something else. Oh, does Princess let you bring your own water on or anything, or are they?
yes, Princess will let you bring your own water and pop
That's a
and
that's
wine.
incredible. You can bring bottled water, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, because the Carnival
I'm
won't. They're
not,
owned by the same people,
right. Yeah.
So,
And the only one that I know that does not is NCL and MSC. But
right,
I have seen people taking on MSC where they got stopped, but I've also don't want to ever take that chance. Um, of course, it's got to be carried out and stuff like that. So,
right. But the other weird thing is after you leave on a Carnival ship and you get off, at an excursion or another a port or something, you buy a
mhm,
couple bottles of water. Let
they
you
don't
bring
care.
right back. Yeah, they don't care. I don't understand, but I'm not complaining. But
Right.
But that was
See,
why I
what-
told you about the thing with Tongass, because I didn't know if Princess was the same thing. So
Right. And here's the weird thing is, when you go through security, when you're checking in at the port, they make you dump out any liquid you have. So, I had a half a bottle of Diet Coke I had to dump out. But yet I'm coming on the ship in the Skagway, had a half a bottle of Diet Coke. They don't care.
No, they don't care. No.
No.
And yeah, that's the other thing that gets me is with the Carnival. Is like you said, you show up. Now what they were doing with Carnival, say you show up with half a bottle of water and you think, well, I'd like to save the bottle. No, they make you throw the bottle out too.
Yeah.
They don't want. They
This is
say we
not
don't want
reusable.
plastic on the ship. You get to
Right.
your room, there's 2 big
Toss them
bottles
out.
of plastic,
Yeah.
sitting there. So
For sure.
okay, well, we'll save all that for another show.
Exactly. That is definitely something we could definitely talk about for sure
Yeah.
in another show.
But anyway, yeah, again, I appreciate you inviting me on, and maybe, hopefully, people learn something from us. And
Yes. Hopefully they did.
so,
Hopefully for sure. Well, I appreciate everybody coming by. We still got 5 people. Thank you guys for sticking around to the end. I know Randy says make it happen or don't make excuses, make it happen.
yeah.
And I say every cruise has a story. So you can make a good story out of every cruise that you do take. So get out there, have fun, get your cruises booked,
And buy that damn travel insurance. Don't take a chance.
and buy insurance. Yes, get
don't,
travel
don't,
insurance.
don't leave home without it, as Carl Malden
sure.
said. So,
For sure. Yeah. And then,
And-
if you can't afford travel insurance, you probably shouldn't be traveling.
And buy yourself a good
Door
door
wedge.
stop. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
All right. Thanks to everybody for stopping by.
bye. Have a good night.